Going on to you, Scorpio. So you have the Knight of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles, and then you have the Queen of Swords. So the Knight, Nine of Pentacles, both of these are the same suit, and the Queen of Swords, like I was just talking about. So look, right, my desk is starting to get crazy. But anyway, for you Scorpios, you basically, a lot of you Scorpios, very much so, the quality of your life is getting much better. There's also a sense of you conquering your past, essentially. The Queen of Swords, right, is looking in the other direction of the Knight of Pentacles. So this shows Queen of Swords is also you. It represents you Scorpios not looking back towards what you've already done, the experiences that you've already had, how people have wasted your time, disrespected you, essentially, and disempowered you. And it's quite ironic because how Scorpio becomes so powerful in the first place is Scorpio has to be disempowered. Scorpio has to understand what it feels like to have no power, to be disrespected, to be treated like trash. And then it's from that standpoint, right, is when the Scorpio understands, okay, I got to do something to make sure that this type of scenario doesn't happen to me very often or ever again. Because it's not necessarily about trying to wield it on others without constraint. That's a corrupt Scorpio. That's a lower Scorpio with power. That's a corrupt Scorpio, right? A Scorpio that's much more responsible understands I need to have power to where I can wield it on others without restraint. Without constraint, meaning that there's nothing or no one to essentially stop them, or no one's stopping them without having to actually do it. So there's a sense of there is a floor, there is a line that you're not willing to cross, even though you have the power. This is what it is I was talking about, how it is that most people do not know how to effectively actually wield power. Everybody wants to be this, and I hope YouTube don't hit me for this, but it's the truth. So you see in society, as a collective, right? Society as a collective, us as a collective. A lot of people want to have power over other people and wield it and corrupt and the way that they do things. Those people don't know how to handle it. They're showing that they don't know how to handle it. Because you do not wield power by being harsh. You wield power with wisdom. This is what the Kabbalistic tree teaches you. You have Bina and then you have Chokmah. Bina or Bina is represented by Saturn. It represents being a despotic king or queen, being a tyrant, being a person that when they put themselves in positions, they go wild and they essentially start treating people like trash in any way that they want because they have power and they want to and they want to see how they want to see it. They want to see the carnage that comes with that. But then you have Chokmah, right? But Bina or Bina, right? If you rule from, not saying that it's not necessary, because Bina is still necessary. It's Saturn, but it's to show you that you gain the wisdom and experience. You gain the wisdom from experience. Bina represents experience. Chokmah represents the wisdom. Chesed, which is ruled by Mercury, if I'm not mistaken, represents, no, Chesed is not ruled by, I think, is it ruled by Mercury? Yeah, Chesed is ruled by Mercury. But Chesed, right, which is ruled by Mercury, represents knowledge, right? Mercury, knowledge, the mental faculties, and then Bina, the experience, and then wisdom, the mental faculties, right? Or I should say, what you've learned from book smarts, what you've experienced in the actual street, right? Your lived experience, your first-hand experience. The book represents second and third-hand experience. And then not only that too, but your foresight, your spiritual faculties, wisdom, and then you rule from there. So I'm saying all that to say that you Scorpios are using your power. You're using your freedom of choice. See, freedom is power. You're using your power. You're using your power to make decisions that you want to make. You're using your power to make decisions that you want to make for yourself. You Scorpios realize that, once again, you don't have to be in a position where you always, being taken for granted and people are treating you like trash and talking to you any kind of way. So there's definitely a sense of the Nine of Pentacles. You Scorpios are like, look, until somebody can show you some form of, just overall human rights respect, you're not going to be with them. Not for very long anyway. You may be with them for the preliminaries where you're trying to get to know them at the very beginning, but you're not necessarily going to be with them for a very long time, because the Knight of Cups and the Seven of Cups right here is about how you will leave, and no matter how important they portray themselves or project themselves outwardly to be, you Scorpios are always going to be there to show somebody just not that they're not as great as they think they are. If this is how it is that they treat people, if this is how they engage with people, you don't want to have to be around them like that, because how they treat people is trash. You have other options. You can get to know other people in the first place. So the thing is that the Ace of Cups and the Five of Wands right here represents you Scorpios being in a very good position where you Scorpios want to essentially find someone that's a very good match, but it can't be based upon competition. It can't be based upon competition. It can't be based upon, you essentially sleeping with the enemy. You can't, you're tired of doing that. So the thing is that the moon represents, once again, you Scorpios have taken on this real self where it's like, where it's like this real self. Your vessel has been filled. Your vessel has been filled effectively with yourself. You have gotten in touch with yourself, self-knowledge, right? The moon represents self-knowledge because it represents reflection. The sun represents kind of being an idiot savant, where you're so genius to the point where you don't really understand how intelligent you really are. But the moon represents self-reflection, right? Which is what you have, right? The moon represents understanding, taking the time to actually really pay attention to the details of your surroundings, as well as to the details of who you are, sun and moon. So the thing about it is that since you have the moon, you spent a lot of time having to reflect on how people would treat you, right? In not even relationships, just at the preliminaries, the beginning, when the first couple of dates, and they want to treat you like trash. So now it's like, no, you're done. The King of Cups and the Hangman represents how, again, you Scorpios are going to continue to date, but you have a profound new level of self-respect. It's not, and the best part about it is it's not vanity. It's not overabundance of confidence. It's not vanity. It's not something where it's like, it's delusion, right? It's not delusion where it's like you think of yourself as so great. It's like, no, you Scorpios essentially just want to essentially be respected. And if a person cannot respect you, respect goes down to something as small as like meeting you for a date, the flaking and all this other type of crap, right? If a person, you know what I'm saying? Like if a person doesn't even, something small, something small, but it's actually big, something as small but truly important, like being the first ones to actually initiate a conversation with you Scorpios. You're not just always calling them, they're calling you. And since that's the case, a lot of you Scorpios are, like I said, you know, with these cards that I am expressing, you're not dealing with that anymore. And it's in that is you actually taking your power back. It's being rebellious. This is why it is that I say that you have to learn to be rebellious with the cause, because then you have it's not just a physical thing. Now it's also a spirituality that comes into play, right? So it's material, but it's also non-material as well. That's why it is that you will win. In order for you to get what it is that you want, the spiritual side has to be on your side. And the best way for you to be to understand what spirituality is about is because, or I should say, the best way for the spiritual side to be on your side is when you know what you're doing. Is for you to have a cause, a legitimate one. Is for you to understand what it is that you're doing. And what I mean when I say understand what you're doing, I'm talking about being a rebel with a cause. Understanding that since you Scorpios are disrespected, and you shouldn't be, somebody should just deal with you and get to know you. And if the two of you are not compatible, then the two of you peacefully, amicably, right, go your separate ways. But no, that's not what it is that they want to do. They want to go out kicking and screaming. They're entering into your life, wasting their own time, trashing you for no good real reason. And you Scorpios have and it comes down to a level of being ironic, because you Scorpios are the zodiac sign that so many people is portraying or projecting to be vindictive or angry or needing to seek revenge or get back. When you look up the definition, of revenge, you know what I'm saying? In some earlier dictionaries, because I still have some old dictionaries from the 90s or whatever, or the early 2000s. When you look up the definition of revenge in a dictionary, one of the definitions, because you know you'll have a list of definitions, one of the definitions of revenge is Scorpio. Don't believe me? Go and look it up. So I'm saying all that to say that it's ironic, because that has been the projection, and at one point that was correct. But now that you Scorpios, like I said, you've leveled up, and you're not on trying to gain revenge, get back on some revenge type stuff anymore. Now what it is that people are going to say, they're still continuing to try their best attempts to disempower you by using love as a way to be able to get you to lower your guard. And for you Scorpios, you realize that's what's going on, and that's why it's not working. Because yeah, you're willing to lower your guard to get to know the person, to be in a loving relationship and everything like that, but you're also not going to suspend your common sense and your knowledge and your wisdom as well. Because see, that's why a lot of people, right, end up getting hurt in relationships, is because they suspend their common sense and their wisdom and their experience. They resist against their own hunches. They resist against their own gut feeling, their own self. They resist relying on their own self for strength. They neglect themselves, and they lose their identity, and they just essentially project, or they lean on the other person a little bit too much. So let's clarify the Hangman. So now the Cups, so the King of Cups and the Hangman represents, again, you realize now that relationships take time. Yeah, even if you get yourself into a relationship where the two of you are calling yourselves relationships, there's still elements that you're going to have to learn to trust each other on. Trust is something that occurs, that it's a choice that you have to make every single day. So let's clarify the moon. Matter of fact, let's clarify the Hangman. You have the Two of Wands, the Nine of Swords, the Devil, the Moon yet again, and then you have the Four of Pentacles to clarify the Hangman. So again, the Two of Wands, the Nine of Swords, and the Devil right here represents interesting. Yeah, it again, you see it for what it is. If the relationship is too much of a hassle, especially up front, then you Scorpios understand what type of time it is, because you're not going to suspend your common sense, right? Because it's like a movie, right? It's like a movie, right? Movies ask you to suspend your disbelief. In other words, let's take belief out of the way, right? We need to deal with more of an absolute. We need to start dealing with facts instead of over emotional belief systems and traditions that have essentially served no purpose. What movies ask you to do is to not be suspicious. They ask you to not ask questions. They ask you to not seek any more knowledge as to the situation to see if that what it is that you're seeing in a movie actually would occur in real life is what is happening. So they do it so that it doesn't happen. Basically, shout outs to Arcere, the Duke of Tears, but they do it to for it not to actually play itself out in real life. Now, why that is important is because the moon in the Four of Pentacles represents how now that's not good. Now it's not that you being disrespected for no reason isn't working for you anymore. It's not working for you anymore. So now you're in a position where you Scorpios are actually doing what you needed to do for the longest time, which is you're rebelling. You're rebelling. You Scorpios are like, look, if your time, if your effort, if who you are is not valued, then you're not going to waste any more time being around someone that's going to try their hardest and is going to come and I'm going to go ahead and say this too, just to really give you Scorpios some game. Part of the reason why it is that people who play games are often poor financially is because they spend too much of their mental energy worrying about how they could put people in a trick bag. This is the reason why it is that I keep saying a million times, you can't serve two masters. You're not going to be able to get to generational wealth and at the same time play games. Your mind has to be focused on one thing at a particular time. And if you're taking on a big project, like going from, I don't know, middle class to being rich where you don't have to work and stuff like that anymore, that requires a certain level of focus and dedication. You're not going to be able to do that messing around all day, right? It's 12 noon, right? When I'm as 12:06 as I'm making this video concurrently, and you still playing some games, and I'm gonna go ahead and call my significant other and stress them out on the job. That's stupid. So I'm glad that you Scorpios are actually getting into this new bag, because it means that a lot of you are really empowering yourself. You realize that the power is coming from you. If you don't show a parasite attention, the parasite falls off. So that's it. Trying to make my YouTube channel grow to 100,000 subscribers. Smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, hit the notification bell, set the notification bell to all so you can be notified whenever I drop my videos. And also, too, there's a link in the comment section below called the Linktree link. It will redirect you to a website where you can get my readings, birth chart, all of that stuff. Get my readings, get my books, get my merch. Really appreciate it if you would come get a reading so I can keep the show going, or get my merch or any of that stuff.